Hey everybody, it's Lord Magicus, and we're gonna take a look at Merfolk and Legacy today. Now, notice I did not say play. We're going to watch a replay because yesterday when I recorded my Legacy League, the audio did not seem to work. Apparently the plug on my microphone was only half in, so it lit up as though it had power, but OBS didn't get any sound recorded out of it, so I spoke for like almost 2 hours and nobody heard a word I said. So yeah, we're gonna replay it, and I'll give some commentary on how these matches went. I mean, I could have also just played a new league, but you know, I've said this before. We don't. I don't like hiding results. So we already played a league, so we're gonna look at the one that I played, whether it was good or bad, and we'll find out how it went. So this is what I was playing. I decided that we were gonna go and double down in this Thassa's Oracle Paradigm Shift combo. And so yeah, let's talk about this list. So one change that I made, and this was something that came up during I think the last Modern that we played. We have to play the fucking snow-covered islands. Unfortunately, because we are playing Phantasmal Image in our deck, snow-covered island actually matters. I mean, it matters in that if you just play snow-covered islands and pass, like the opponent might think that you're playing like Arkham's Astrolabe or something in your deck. But even though it's not relevant for us, like that's kind of a bluff. It actually does functionally matter with Phantasmal Image because let's say you copy something like Icefang Coatl. Well, it only has Death Touch if you have 3 snow-covered permanents. So if we have 3 snow-covered islands, then when we image the Coatl, we get to have a 1/1 flyer with Death Touch instead of just a 1/1 flyer. So, and that is something that happened when we were playing in Modern. We ended up copying that, and I don't think in that case it mattered, but it could have. So, because of this, I bit the bullet, and guess what? Now, all of our pretty, basic lands are gone, and now we're just perpetually going to play with snow-covered islands, because that's what Magic has come down to. As long as Arkham's Astrolabe is legal, like, we're going to have to do this, even if we don't have Image. But specifically because we have Image, like, it matters now because of things like Coatl, so yeah, it sucks. I really hate the fact that like snow-covered lands matter is a thing. There are so many beautiful basic lands that I would love to be playing with instead, but this is where we're at, so get used to seeing this because we're going to be playing this in like every one of the decks that it's legal to play it in. So that's where we're at. Yeah, and the other change here, since we just mentioned this, is we're playing Phantasmal Images in this deck. We're going to play 4 of them, and there are 2 reasons for this. One, it synergizes with our Oracle plan, because if we keep a hand that has, say, like Thassa's Oracle and Phantasmal Image, we can play the Thassa's Oracle, dig for the Paradigm Shift with Oracle, and then later, when we cast Shift, then we can also use Phantasmal Image to copy the Oracle and win that way. So it lets us more aggressively use Oracle if we want to dig for the combo like that. Especially if you have Aether Vial, because when you activate the vial, there's like no way they're going to know that you're going to use the image to copy it. So it is a huge kind of gotcha for them not killing the Oracle in response to activate the vial. But also because True Name Nemesis is in our deck, and Phantasmal Image copying True Name Nemesis is just going to be a very good way to win games now. Because Lurrus has taken over everything, there's a lot less Plague Engineers running around than there used to be, so the less Plague Engineers there are, the better that True Name Nemesis and copying True Name Nemesis is going to be, because now our 3/1, yeah, it's going to be great. Trying to think. I'm trying... Did I make any other changes to this? Now I'm trying to wonder, because you know what? I had thought that I may have actually had these relics in the main deck, so yeah, I think that I did. I actually I have to adjust this because I did make changes to this. I think what ended up happening, I didn't, no, okay, so yeah, I actually had to make some changes to this, because we didn't play Trickster in this original list. I think I modified this at the end of the league, so. I played the 2 relics here, and I think the other card that I put in here was actually a new one, which would have been, I don't remember if we ever actually got to play it, but I believe I did put it in the deck. Where is it? Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, and then we had the 2 brazen bars in the sideboard. Sorry. All right. So this is the configuration that we actually used for this league. So we didn't have like curse catches or anything in this deck. So instead, I decided I'd put 2 relics in the main deck. And relic in the main deck was kind of fine because it helps us control the ability to combo with Paradigm Shift, because we can make sure our graveyard has the appropriate amount of cards in it. It's also good against Lurrus, so I think the relic in the main deck was fine. And the Sea Dasher Octopus is something I wanted to try, just because if you can slap it onto a True Name Nemesis, now you have a 3/1 that draws you a card every turn that your opponent can't deal with. And I think in the future, when Plague Engineer becomes a thing again, we might also want to revisit this as well, because this is a good way to like protect True Name Nemesis from dying to Plague Engineer. If they go for Engineer, you can always like mutate the True Name into a 2/2 Octopus that has this ability, but also has protection from everything. And the difference is then, even if they named Octopus, it wouldn't be enough to kill the True Name. So you still get to keep it on board. It just wouldn't get the bonuses from the Lords, but that's fine. So I think I did try this, and I didn't really. I don't think we ever really got to use it too much, but it's definitely something that to keep in mind, and we'll probably test this more in the future. But yeah, this is how we did this. So I didn't have Trickster in this original list, and I think that Trickster probably would have been better in the main deck, which is why I had adjusted it afterwards. The reason there's no like borrowers or anything in the main deck is we're not really scared of Ensnaring Bridge. So against any of the Ensnaring Bridge decks, we can just rely on like Thassa's Oracle and Paradigm Shift to just try to win us those games. And the thing is, like, a lot of the Karn the Great Creator decks are just playing Zerda anyway, so they're on a really combo heavy plan. So that means our combo heavy plan is also very good at racing them, and we just need to delay them with like a Force or a Chalice or even like a Null Rod until we can get the Shift into Oracle set up and then win that way. Sideboarding, yeah, I mean, like, this is all basic stuff. Grafdigger's Cage is really good against the graveyard decks, stuff like Reanimator, Dredge, Hogak. I don't know how much of that there is at the moment, but I think that you probably need to keep some amount of graveyard heat. So we have like the 2 relics in the main and here in the side. We also have Fairy Macabre, which is again just more hate against stuff like Reanimator. Because, like, companion or not, like Reanimator just getting Grizzlebrand in on turn 1 is something that you do not want to walk into. So the Fairy, I think, matters a lot for that. And what else? Dismember. Dismember is always like something you want against like the Delver decks, the Death and Tack. Pretty much any of like the non-combo decks, you probably want this card. Null Rod is going to be extremely important against stuff like Urza, stuff like the Zerda, the Monolith combo. Yeah, and this is also very good against Storm. Since Storm relies on a lot of artifact mana like LED and Lotus Petal, but also even stuff like Wishclaw Talisman now, this shuts down a significant portion of their deck. So it's pretty much a must-answer card for them. They have to do something, because it's going to be very hard for Storm to combo off in the face of a Null Rod. They have some answers to it, for sure. Different versions of the deck play like, Echoing Truth, or some, like the Burning Wish version can just go for what is it, like Crash or something? It's a Force of Will type card where you like remove a card from your hand to like destroy 2 artifacts. So they have stuff they can like deal with it, but it slows them down by quite a lot. It is something they have to usually deal with first. So anything that like is gonna, oh yeah, Hope of Garapir is another one this helps against, I think. So yeah, but basically like you do want to bring it in because it's going to be hard for them to beat. And then I did put in the 2 Brazen Borrowers on the side, but I don't know if these are super necessary. Like I said, we don't really need the bounce effect, to deal with bridge as much now. It's just, this card is just a good value card against, fair decks, so I don't know. So if you bounce like a Flip Delver or something, that's usually fine. It's gonna be harder to do that now, but because they have what 4 Force of Wills, 4 Dazes, and usually 2 Force of Negation, plus sometimes some number of Spell Pierce or Spell Snare. So the bounce is not super great against them, but it can also flash in and block it too. So there is that. It being a rogue means that there is the possibility of playing Cavern of Souls on rogue. So you can play your True Name and your Brazen Borrower uncounterably. And it is a 3-drop, so you could always just Violin in and block Delver like that. Certainly possible. And Force of Negation, I mean, we still need this versus, the stuff like Gyruda, because there's no way we're beating it with just the 4 Force of Wills. You need more counter spells, and this is, I think, one of the better ones for our sideboard now. So some people play stuff like Flusterstorm. I guess that's okay. There's not really a lot of other counter spells I want in my sideboard, though. I think this is fine. The Exile is actually pretty significant now, because exiling a spell from the graveyard matters a lot in the face of Lurrus. Let's say your opponent plays Engineered Explosives. You really want to be able to counter it and exile the explosive, so they can't just recast it with Lurrus. So yeah, this is what we rolled with. So let's go and see how it is that these matches went out. Yeah, I'm gonna move this over here because I don't want you to see the result of this before the we're not gonna cheat and preemptively see how we do. So get this set up here, and then we'll open up the window and move this monitor a little bit. So our first round is here. There we go. Hold on. Oh, wait, I want to restart this. Why is this? No. Forget that. There. So yeah, we won the die roll, right? There we go. So yeah, first thing, notice this is up against a Yorion deck. So Yorion means probably some kind of value-oriented deck. Normally this would be either an Urza or a Miracles type list that usually plays this card. So let's see. This hand is probably kind of weak. It's sort of okay here with the snow-covered island. I mean, we have Relic, which is also kind of fine, but it's also unlikely we're casting anything on the play like this. So we are going to mulligan that, and then we mulligan to a much, much better hand here. So let's see. Opponent kept 7 cards, right? No. I don't want this game log here because it actually tells you what happened here. Alright, so yeah. It's fine. So we're gonna keep, and thinking that this is probably gonna be, Yorion Miracles would be my guess. True Name Nemesis off Cavern of Souls is probably the best way that we're going to win this game, and then copy it with Phantasmal Image. So I think Lord of Atlantis is what I put on the bottom here. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so yeah, we just play Island and pass. And we have no response to our opponent, so they just played Silent Clearing, and they did nothing else. So here, what do we draw? Lord of Atlantis. Alright, so this is a scenario. So they played Silent Clearing. That's already kind of weird. That's so like I'm thinking maybe this is some kind of Esper deck. I'm still assuming that they probably have like Force of Will in their hand. However, I don't know if they have like Wasteland or anything, so I don't want to expose the Cavern of Souls to like Field of Ruin or Wasteland or something. So I think that we should play the island, and then yeah, that's my thinking, because then then they can't take us off uncounterable True Name next turn. So here we can just play the Lord of Atlantis and expose it to a counterspell, and there's no counterspell, so they don't have like days or anything up either, so it's pretty safe. Let's see. They just played another Silent Clearing and did nothing, so that's kind of scary. So far, a deck that plays Yorion and no blue in it, that's suspicious as hell. But here we're just going to go Cavern of Souls, True Name Nemesis, and there's not really much they can do about it. But I'll get the attack in first, just to make sure there's nothing bad going to happen, so. Yeah. I don't know why we're waiting to see what they're doing. Like, yeah, this is a replay, so we just have to press the button. Yeah, Cavern on Merfolk. Let me just play True Name. Yeah, they don't do anything. So here we go. Their turn. So what the hell is going to happen here? They played... Oh, fuck. That was a lot of things. Alright, so I did not mean to go through that quickly. So that turn, they played Lotus Petal and City of Traders. So they had 5 mana here. So what they did is they played Oath of Kaya, killed off the Lord of Atlantis, and then played Trial of Ambition to make us sacrifice a creature, and we had to sacrifice True Name Nemesis. So that was not good. We lost like basically all of our threats in one turn. From our opponent going from 2 lands and us having like True Name plus Lord, which was really good for us too. Now all of a sudden our opponent is on 4 mana right now, and they have some blanky things in play for Yorion, and we have no board state. So that was a very good turn for them that we were not. I was kind of surprised. I didn't think that we were gonna see like both of these cards. And definitely not City of Traders. Like, this is something I didn't expect the Yorion deck to be playing. So, this already tips me off that, like, there is some fuckery going on here. So, this isn't going to be, like, miracles or anything. For sure, this is now some kind of weird, black-white deck. So, what do we draw here? Island. So, we just play Island and pass. So, we are stuck here with Paradigm Shift and Phantasmal Image. Is not really good. What is our opponent going to do? So they play Treacherous Blessing. So for 3 mana they get to draw 3 cards, but they also lose a life every time they cast a spell, which right now we have no pressure, so that doesn't matter. They just have to target it with something, so they can target it with Yorion and sacrifice it so they stop losing life. Not a big deal. They just want to draw cards, so that makes sense. Actually, I don't think Yorion targets, right? So they can just blink it to draw 3 cards. Yeah, so they don't have to target it with Yorion. I think they do have other things that could theoretically target this, but Yorion can actually blink this, and every time it blinks it, they draw 3 cards. So that's pretty insane. Yorion just gets like Ancestral Recall stapled to it in exchange for like a little bit of life loss. So yeah, they didn't do anything else. So they don't have the 5th mana to cast their Yorion. So where are we at? We draw another island, so that's pretty poor. Alright, so opponent this turn, they play a land, so they're gonna probably, yeah, they tap that. So they have 5 mana, they could play Yorion this turn, but instead, they have a much more devious plan in mind. So, Curse of Misfortunes. Now, there are some really nasty curses that, they could search and hurt us with. I think there's one that makes us have to sacrifice creatures, but there's also, you know what? I think there's, like, trying to think. I think now I don't think I considered it at the time, but I think let me find out about this. I'm gonna look up this card because I think there's a card specifically. I don't remember if it's a curse or not. And I want to just make sure we got this. Yeah. So the other thing that they could definitely like find against us is Overwhelming Splendor. They can just turn all of our creatures into stupid 1/1s that are totally useless. So the Curse of Misfortunes, yeah, when they cast this is like a 5-mana tutor that, you know, every turn lets them search their deck for something. So they can get like Overwhelming Splendor, turn all of our creatures into 1/1s, and then get the there's like a number of enchantments they can play that, you know, just give all of our creatures -1/-1. So then we basically have no way to keep a creature in play. So yeah. So really, because of this, you know, we only have like one turn to do something. Before, you know, if they, I'm assuming they have Overwhelming Splendor in their deck, and that's the first thing they would probably search for in this case. But there's some other devastating curses as well. Yeah, so that's a really scary card to see resolve. So we only really have one out here, and let's see what we draw for the turn. Yes, well, this was the only card that we could have possibly drawn. That means that we don't lose to them tutoring for curses next turn, and guess what? We drew it. We have exactly 2 cards in our graveyard, and this will give us 2 devotion. So, assuming they don't have something like Slaughter Pact, then we just win here. So we play Paradigm Shift. This helps us. Yeah, I don't know what they could possibly have, but I figured you may as well just do this first. Play the land so we have extra mana. And yeah, we play Thassa's Oracle here. Oracle resolves, trigger resolves, and opponent is screwed. Game is ended. We win with Thassa's Oracle. So top deck Oracle bailed us out of this terrible scenario. So yeah, this falls off as you know, we win the game. So it's kind of weird that, you know, at the end of the game this card actually does end up in the graveyard, because it doesn't do anything once the game is over. But I don't know why MTGO like took that game action. It's kind of weird, but yeah. In any case, yeah. So the combo already in game 1 was super relevant to us winning. So great. Let's go and see game 2. So game 2. Let's see here. There we go. So, yeah, this hand is probably not really that good. It only has 1 threat, and we know that they're going to be a deck where 1 threat is not going to cut it, so I think this is a pretty clear mulligan. Yeah, so we mulligan. This looks much better. We have 2 threats and a vial now. And we also have Force of Negation. We did board in Force, so let's see, what do we have here? Took out Phantasmal Image, and we took out Chalice of the Void. So we brought in 5 cards. So we brought in 2 Brazen Borrowers and 3 Force of Negation. Chalice just doesn't look like it's going to do very much, because most of their important spells cost like 3 or more mana. Like, we're never going to stick Chalice on 3, so not important. And Brazen Borrower is useful because it can bounce a lot of important things, like, you know, the curses against us. It's also another threat that we can flash in at any given point to attack them. So that's my thinking for that. But this is fine. We definitely keep this, and I think we just put a Force of Negation on the bottom. Yeah. They played Swamp Pass. So here, we just play Fiery Islet, play Aether Vial, pass the turn. Let's see. I don't think opponent's doing anything here, right? They played Chrome Mox. Okay, so they played Heliod's Pilgrim, so this card is gonna search for like the stupid auras that are just gonna, yeah, any of these like enchant player cards are gonna be very devastating if they find them. So I figured there's no reason to like, you know, let them search for it, just counter the stupid Heliod's Pilgrim, and then we don't have to worry about the aura. And they only have 2 cards in hand at this point, so they may not be able to like actually do very much with it. So, and we have, let's see, we have Aether Vial out right now, so that's kind of good. See, I don't remember if we drew a land this turn or not. Let's find out. We did not, so we are just passing the turn. Alright. Yeah, okay, so let's see, this turn they have 2 cards left in hand, so let's find out what they are. Now they drew one, so they are at 4 mana. They exiled this curse, so Curse of Death's Hold, so yeah, that's the one that kind of combos with Overwhelming Splendor here. You know, you get this in like, you know, Overwhelming Splendor, and it's just impossible for us to put a creature in play. I mean, we can cast it, it's just gonna die immediately. So here, tap 4 mana, Curse of Exhaustion. So we have this force in hand, but here's the thing: this Curse of Exhaustion is not gonna do anything to us. We're only gonna cast 1 spell a turn anyway. And right now, we're probably not even casting 1 spell a turn because we have Aether Vial to put things in play, which is not casting a spell. And we don't have a second mana to even play 1 creature on our turn. So the Force is only 1 spell that gets cast in their turn. This card does like literal nothing against us. So there's no reason to force that. We just let him resolve it and pass. So now they're down to 1 card in hand. And so far, they've done nothing meaningful against us. Pick up Vial, and how good at magic cards are we? That card's not particularly useful right now. So, yeah, we just pass. We have Vial in 2, so we're going to stick a creature in play at the end of their turn. Let's see, what are they casting here? Yeah. Ooh, 4 mana, so Doom Foretold. So, standard all-star, beginning of each player's upkeep, you sacrifice a non-creature, non-token permanent. Well, we only have 1, and if this card resolves and makes us sacrifice Vial, we just lose the game. We're never going to come back from this. They can sacrifice the stupid Curse of Exhaustion that doesn't do anything. Like, yeah, so we're definitely going to die. So this is definitely a card that we're going to force, and I'm looking at this hand, and I'm seeing Paradigm Shift is very unlikely to do anything here. We don't have a second land. We don't have Thassa's Oracle. Exiling our deck is not going to matter, so let's just go on a Lord Beatdown plan. So we'll pitch the Paradigm Shift to force, and we'll counter this. And that's the end of their turn. They don't do anything else. So at the end of their turn, then we also Vialed in a Master. So keep this on 2. We find Thassa's Oracle, which is okay. We could Vial that in if we wanted to try to find another land, and that's actually a pretty tempting option here. So I guess we just attack. Alright, so opponent, you have 1 card left. What are you doing? Play a land, so you have 5 mana. So they played Trinisphere, which is interesting. I thought that for sure felt like that would have been a good turn to play Yorion, so then they could start blocking this. They're at 12 life, so. And here I'm looking at this, and now I'm saying, okay, well they didn't play Yorion, so my original plan was I was thinking about like vialing in this Oracle to find a second land, but let's see, we've already they're at 12. So if we vial in this Lord of Atlantis, we're attacking for 6, and then, or if we vial in like Lord of Atlantis and then find another land, we get to attack for 8. And like even then, if they play Yorion, it's not even going to matter because they're going to take a bajillion damage off of this, and then one creature's going to kill them anyway. So, and I mean, in the worst case scenario, we just attack them for 6 the next turn, and then that should be enough by itself. Attack them for 6, and then, you know, vial in a Lord turn afterwards and like attack, and they still end up losing a bunch of life from this to cast Yorion anyway. So yeah, at this point, Thassa's Oracle is not even necessary. So they didn't play Yorion, which means we get a clear attack this turn. So I think we just go on the Lord Beatdown plan. So here, keep Vial on 2. Yeah, so well, so now we get to attack for 8, and like now that game is just over. They're gonna go to 4. If they want to play Yorion, they're gonna have to go to 1 life, which means again any one creature gets through. Like, what are they gonna do here? Nothing, right? Yeah, they just concede. So there's nothing they can do. They drew 1 card, and it wasn't like Damnation or anything, so they're dead. There we go. That's how we won round 1. Yeah, the first match we won with the combo. The second we won with the Lord Beatdown plan. So that was a pretty good start. So let's look at round 2 here. It's a pretty clean win, I think. There we go. So we lost the die roll for this. So, oh, no. Okay, hold on. We're going to restart this, because that went way too quickly. Damn it. I did not want to, like, skip through all of that. There was a lot going on there that we should talk about. Alright. Alright, so we are up against Gyruda. So this is the one where they're going to reanimate things from the graveyard with this. So yeah, it's 6 mana when it comes into play. You mill the top 4 cards, and you can put a creature even converted mana cost onto the battlefield, but you can only play even mana cost. So this is like the one that kind of goes alongside Obosh, where Obosh is odds at odd mana. This one's the even mana one. So basically, like, this deck is all about, you know, putting things into play from the graveyard. There's 2 different versions of it. One of them plays like a bunch of clones and just attempts to like keep cloning this card, and another one is just going to play a bunch of like big fatties that they just want to reanimate for free. And yeah, then they just use stuff like Lion's Eye Diamond to play this. You know, they can just play like 2 LEDs, play this, and then just hopefully mill something ridiculously big and then get it back that way. So either way, graveyard is probably going to be very important. So yeah, and this is an unfair deck, which means that True Name Nemesis is actually not very good against them. So I think this is a pretty easy mulligan. This hand's not particularly great either, to be honest. Against Gyruda, like, you really want something like Force of Will in order to deal with this, because if you don't have Force, like, you're probably going to die. So again, so we mulligan to 5. This hand actually looks like it could do something. So we have the Paradigm Shift combo, we have Vial, and we also have Chalice and 0. So it can at least stop them from just jamming a bunch of LEDs. So I think here we put a Vial on the bottom, and we put Master of the Pearl Trident on the bottom. Alright, so now let's see what opponent does. They play Lion's Eye Diamonds, land, and then pass. Which, not great, but it also means that they don't have enough mana to play Gyruda just yet. So we play Island, Chalice of the Void, Aether Vial. I guess it would have made... I think technically we should have played the Chalice on 0 first. Just because we don't know for a fact that they don't have something like Daze in their deck. And I think that Chalice on 0 is important because we don't want to let them play more LEDs. So we play Chalice on 0, and then it's their turn. Alright, so what are you going to do, opponent? So they played a Swamp, Fetch, so they're at 5 mana right now. Oh no, what's going on? Burning Wish, that's not a good sign. So, Burning Wish, what do they get with this? Yeah, okay, so, yeah, LED, they discarded Gristlebrand, Sire of Insanity, and Grave Titan. So here, yeah, they just Burning Wish. They can just get Exhume, which is what they got. Exhume is their 2-mana reanimate spell. So this is the value version where they're just, yeah, they're gonna use LED, you know, mill Gristlebrand, and then they have like the Burning Wish thing, or they can just, you know, play like 2 LEDs in turn 1, crack them both, and then just play Gyruda and hope to mill Gristlebrand and reanimate it, because if they do that, they win. So here they cast Exhume, put in Gristlebrand, they go to 5, then they try, yeah, they unmask us. Unfortunately, I did not concede quick enough in order to avoid them seeing our hand with the unmask, so they already know what's up here. But the good news is that we have a very dedicated sideboard plan for this. We have Grafdigger's Cage, and we have Force of Negation, which is going to be helpful, I think. So, where are we at here? So we're on the play, too, which means that we can stick Chalice on 0. It's going to basically just win the game. Same thing if we play like Grafdigger's Cage, then they're effectively lost. Come on. Alright, so here's our opening hand. This hand is fantastic. It has the combo in it. It has a Force with another blue card to throw at them. We can play Chalice on 0. And we also have Relic of Progenitus. I think this is a pretty good hand to keep. We'll find more lands eventually, but this should be very useful at shutting them down. So we can turn 1, just Chalice on 0, Relic, pass. So, yeah, there we go. And when we played the Chalice on 0, they just conceded. They mulled to 5 here, and I guess they probably kept like a double LED hand or something where they just figured there's no way that they're beating Chalice on 0 plus Relic, so that's it. This was a great keep. You know, we won the game. I mean, we had a path to win the game anyway, even if they found, like, you know, if they had something like, say, the shenanigans to try to deal with this, but no, they had nothing, so they just ended up losing. And then we go to game 3. There it is. Okay, so let's look at this. I don't know why it's like so slow to load the opening hands. So here's what we have here. We are on the draw versus them, so we don't have, like, how do I say, we have to consider this. Is there any way that they are going to win? Like, if it is possible that this hand loses, if they could theoretically combo and get this Gyruda on turn 1, and then if they play Gyruda on turn 1, is Fairy Macabre going to be enough in order to counter this? Because they could just like go for it, and even if you know if they play Gyruda and we Fairy Macabre the creature, like, or no. So here's the problem. Okay, that's what I was saying. Gyruda's ability will put 4 cards in the graveyard, but actually we don't even get to use the fairy before they reanimate something. So effectively, we are very cold to them just comboing on turn 1. If they have like 2 LEDs and they go for it, then we could just be screwed. However, if they don't win on turn 1, then, or if they're on a plan where they're trying to, like, you know, say Exhume Gristlebrand, then yeah, we can use the Fairy Macabre to beat like Exhume, and we also have Grafdigger's Cage. If we can stick Cage, then this gets turned offline, and then we're just trying to deal with a 6/6. But hopefully they're not like they're not gonna get to enough mana if we can stick Chalice in 0 as well. So this hand has some risk to it. It also has Thassa's Oracle, which is half of our combo, so I think that even though we don't have a Force in order to deal with them just going for it, I think that it's probably something we want to keep. But I did debate on this for a little bit here. Yeah. You know, and our opponent, yeah, they got a little snarky with us, because I did debate over this because I wasn't sure if I should, you know, put the shields down like that, or or if this was safe to keep. But I ended up deciding, you know what, this is good enough. We have enough significant hate cards that I'm willing to go or see what they're going to do. So I put LED and Badlands in play and did not do anything else, which is perfect. Because now, we drew Lord of Atlantis, so that's good. That's another threat. To go Island, Chalice on 0, and then Grafdigger's Cage, and like, that should just do it. Now, they're not going to be able to play more LEDs to get to Gyruda. They're not going to be able to like discard their hand and exhume anything. They have to deal with Grafdigger's Cage and Fairy Macabre, which currently they don't know about this, so he plays that. So what do we see here? Collective Brutality, discarding Gristlebrand. And they chose the modes Drain Us for 2 life and get rid of Innocent or Sorcery. So they're trying to bait out Force of Will here. Yeah, so we just let them see our hand. We're not going to do anything in response, because part of the thing is if they do end up finding like shenanigans to get rid of this Grafdigger's Cage, I don't want to burn the Fairy Macabre in case they do find Exhume. If they were, say, gonna discard another Gristlebrand and then cast Exhume, and we had burned this right now, then we'd be screwed. So we just let them see the Macabre. Now they know about this hate piece. Yep. So they drained us for 2. So Phantasmal Image is sort of fine because it gives us another clock with Lord of Atlantis. So we're going to play Lord, pass. Their turn. What are they going to do here? Cast Chrome Mox, and it gets countered, and they give up. They have one other card in hand. I guess they realized that, oh, they forgot about the Chalice, so there's no way for them to ramp up into just casting a 6/6 at this point. They're stuck on 4 mana, so can't do anything. So we win that one pretty easily with our hate cards. You know, Cage, Chalice, and Macabre turned out to be enough for game 3. So there we go. So we beat that guy. And so let's look at our 3rd round now. So now we're at this point 2-0. And we have seen the combo actually do something here, so we're on the draw. Let's see, what are we up against here? So, on the draw, we're not up against a companion. However, let's see. This hand is sort of weak. I mean, it's okay. Like, we have Vial into Chalice. The shift is like a combo piece. So if we find Thassa's Oracle, this could just win the game. And I mean, the other plan is we can play like Master of the Pearl Trident and then try to Vial in Phantasmal Image to copy it. So I think this is a reasonable hand to keep. It's a little bit vulnerable if we get like, you know, Thought Seized or something, but we can't, you know, there's not much we can do about that. So it turns out our opponent played City of Brass and Careful Study, and they are on Dredge. Oh god. They put double Golgari Grave Troll in the graveyard. So this hand, there is no fucking way that we're beating Dredge unless we can combo out quick enough. So, oh, and there it is. So there's Thassa's Oracle. So now it is a race. We are on the draw versus Dredge. So because we're against Dredge, our biggest concern right now is Cabal Therapy. If they Cabal Therapy us and see our hand, they can definitely then later like flashback Cabal Therapy and then just get rid of like either the Oracle or the image or the Paradigm Shift. So Chalice on 0 is not really going to matter very much. We need to stick Chalice on 1 to turn off Cabal Therapy. We'll play Aether Vial here. Pass. Pray that we can get this Chalice down. Well, they have Cabal Therapy and Bridge from Below in the graveyard already, so that is a very bad sign. Because basically now if they mill out any creature, they can flashback Cabal Therapy. We can, so right now, if they just cast this one, they're probably going to blindly name something like, I don't know, Force of Will. They're not going to name either of these cards, but so right now we're safe. But let's see, they're dredging a whole bunch with Breakthrough, so this is going to be bad. If they hit like a second therapy and a creature to sacrifice to it, like then we're screwed. So there's that, so there's still only one. And then Dredge here. So Narcomoeba is going to come back. And then here's the problem. There's now Narcomoebas, and now there are 2 therapies in the graveyard. So what will happen is they're going to sacrifice a Narcomoeba to Cabal Therapy us. And then they will get a Bridge from Below token, and they can just sacrifice the token to use the other therapy to rip away our combo. So unfortunately, because they were on the play, yeah, we don't have time to stick this Chalice on 1 before they just rip our hand apart with therapy. We could beat exactly 1 Cabal Therapy in the blind, but here, yeah, we'll just... Yeah, so this is the problem here. Once they cast this Cabal Therapy, like, there's no hope here, so... So, yeah, we let them go and cast it, and then when they go to cast the second one, like, we're screwed. So they just concede. Yeah, that's rough. If we were on the play, this actually would have been good enough to beat them, because we go turn 1 lands, then they would turn 1 Careful Study, and then turn 2 we could play Chalice in 1, which turns this off, and then turn 3 play Paradigm Shift, and then Vial in Thassa's Oracle. We would have got there. So we lost against Dredge, you know, purely because we were on the draw. We had a turn 3 win, just wasn't fast enough. Yeah, that's right. Winning on turn 3 was not fast enough in Legacy. Dredge is a deck that, you know, will just it's very, very quick and very devastating. So game 2. So let's look at how we sideboarded here. Let's see, we sideboarded out the Sea Dashers. We sided out Lord of Atlantis. So what do we bring in here? 2 Grafdigger's Cage and 2 Fairy Macabres. Anything that interacts with the graveyard, basically. That's it. And we kept in the combo because the combo is a good way to race them. And you could argue that we should bring in some number of Force of Negation. I think that maybe we could have done that, but I felt confident with our plan so far that we didn't need it. So we also have the 2 relics in the main deck, so... And here's our opening hand, and this is fucking fantastic. We're just going to stick turn 1, Grafdigger's Cage, and then... The one mistake I say is... I should have replaced 3 of the Force of Wills with 3 of the Force of Negations instead. Because if they were to ever shenanigans this Grafdigger's Cage, I really, really want to be able to exile shenanigans from their graveyard. Whereas now they can just, you know, dredge it back every turn. But I think in this case, this was fine. We're on the play. We're just going to stick Cage and hope that they're not going to be able to beat it. So let's see. So yeah, we play Cage, pass. Opponent, what are you going to do here? Grafdiggers, they can't do anything in the face of Cage. They have 6 cards in hand. They just played a land and passed. So here, I think we just play Lord of Atlantis. There's no point to playing Aether Vial right now because we don't have anything to vial in with it. And we'll hold up Phantasmal Image in our hand just in case, you know, we need to force something. Firestorm. I'm going to let them Firestorm here because, again, we need to protect the Cage with the Force, so... I'm not happy about that. They are going to get to dredge a whole bunch, but hopefully that's not going to matter. And they just conceded to that, so... Yeah, I guess they were just kind of hoping that we would burn a Force on that, but they realized that they can't beat the Cage, and because we have, like... Yeah, we decided to just let the Lord die. Yeah. There was nothing they could do. They just gave up in the face of Grafdigger's Cage, so... We win game 2, and then on to game 3 versus Dredge. Alright. So game 3, we are on the draw versus Dredge. So how are we going to attack this? So here we go. I should say, normally against unfair decks, you don't really want True Name Nemesis, but the problem is Dredge makes a ton of Bridge from Below tokens, and True Name is like the only way that you have to push past that. So, yeah, if you can, play True Name and then file in Phantasmal Image, and that gives you like 6 damage at least to attack past all of their nonsense. So, we have Force and Chalice. I think if we can stick Chalice, that might help us here, and I think the Force can also help us tier 2. I think I'm going to keep this. So, it's a little bit slow with True Name, but we also have Paradigm Shift, which means if we draw Thassa's Oracle, we can potentially win that way too. So, keep this. They play LED. So what happened is they played Lion's Eye Diamond. I forced it. I pitched the Phantasmal Image to counter the LED. Because this would have just gave them mana and let them discard their hand. But it also turned out they had Faithless Looting anyway. So they just cast the Faithless Looting and then just discarded 2 cards. They have Bridge from Below and Golgari Grave Troll here. Yeah, and so they could have just before LED and then Faithless Looting with the mana from LED and just still had stuff in their graveyard anyway. So there's nothing we could really do about that. So here I think we're just, let's see, what are we gonna draw? We drew Thassa's Oracle. That's good. And because we burned a Force of Will already, yeah, we burned Force of Will. So this actually lets us play the combo in turn 3 because we have a card in the graveyard. So in turn 2, we can play Shift, put Force as our only card back on top of the deck, and then turn 3, draw the Force, and then play Oracle, and then we win. So, because we are not going to be able to play Chalice on 1, because we need to play this next turn, we just jam Chalice on 0 here. Turn off, more LEDs in the future for them. So opponent's gonna Dredge with Grave Troll. So they find Cabal Therapy. And they break through again, so that's not good. They can... So, do they have a Dredger in the graveyard? I don't think so. I think they actually just draw 4 cards and discard the rest of their hand. No, they draw 4 cards and then discard their whole hand. So this is basically just putting their Grave Troll back. They didn't have anything else to do, so fortunately the Cabal Therapy is not going to do anything here. They didn't find a creature in order to be able to cast Therapy. And we drew Force of Will naturally, so now this is perfect, because now we can play the Cavern, play Paradigm Shift, and then we still have True Name Nemesis to pitch to Force of Will here. So we just play the Shift. And this is not a good sign for our opponent when we're doing this. Because this means they have to do something this turn. So they have Icarid, so they can cast 1 Cabal Therapy. So, and we know for a fact that they're going to name Thassa's Oracle. And yeah, because they had the Icarid in graveyard last turn, like we needed to draw exactly Force of Will in order to deal with Therapy here. We could not beat it otherwise, so... Because they definitely would just name Thassa's Oracle in the face of Paradigm Shift. So what we're hoping for now is they don't find another Cabal Therapy, because if they cast 2 of them this turn, we're dead. So they get Narcomoebas back. Well, Narcomoeba is not enough to do anything here. So they're going to attack first. So then, post-combat, they cast the Cabal Therapy. However, we force it. Pitch the True Name Nemesis, so there's now exactly 2 cards in our graveyard. We cast the Thassa's Oracle and we win. So, that was a very tough game on the draw, but we drew like exactly what we needed to beat Dredge on turn 3. Which, that was far from a guarantee. We had to use 2 Force of Wills and exactly the Paradigm Shift combo to win this game, because there was no other way that we were going to beat this. So, yeah. So we beat Dredge in round 3, so now we are at 3-0 in this league at this point. So let's see. Match number 4. So let's see here. So we are on the draw. Opponent is on Yorion. So now we're looking at this. This does not look like a hand that's beating Yorion, so we're gonna mulligan this. This is also a very sketchy hand. I don't really like this very much, but at the same time, like, I think that we probably just put an island in the bottom. I think that's what I do here, yeah. Hope that, like, Chalice of the Void is going to be good against this deck, because we can go turn 1 Relic and turn 2 Chalice and just pray. So they're playing Arkham's Astrolabe, yep. Okay, so our turn, for sure we're just, like, gonna play Relic here. True Name Nemesis is a good pickup, like, against these decks, like, we probably want True Name. We play Relic. Opponent, yep, plays Ponder. We Relic away the Ponder. So draw. What are we picking up here? Another island. So we actually have a way to cast True Name. That's a good sign. So here we just play Chalice on 1. Chalice on 1 sticks, surprisingly. I didn't think that it was going to. Which means there will be no more Ponders for the time being. Keep their graveyard empty, because this is also a deck that can reasonably play Uro, and I really don't want them to have cards in their graveyard to do that. So they also might have, like, Mystical Sanctuary in their deck. However, the fact that they've been getting all these snow-covered, like, non-basics means that probably Sanctuary is not a concern. So really, it's just Uro. But oh god, yeah, this was a bad sign. They played Oko and made a food. They did not give a shit about Chalice, so. I mean, this also means, though, at some point, if they do ever care about Chalice, they can just turn it into an Elk and then play all their 1-drops, so. That was really bad. Well, we have Thassa's Oracle here, so that's. Maybe if we can pick up Paradigm Shift, we have some way of trying to win this game. Because Oko is very hard for us to beat, so we're just going to have to rely on True Name Nemesis trying to grind it out. But it's going to be hard. Oko, like, has so much loyalty. He's going to, like, you know, +1, turn the food into an Elk, or turn the Chalice into an Elk. For sure. Like, one of those two things is going to happen. So he chooses to make the food into an Elk, which means the Chalice is obviously not doing anything, because if it was, he would just Elk this and then cast, like, 3 1-drops. So this is already a bad sign that, you know, Chalice is useless at this point. He's only 1 land away from playing his Yorion. Ice Fang, yep. Manipulate Fate, and now this is where we think things go from awful to just, like, absolute losing. Search your library for 3 cards, exile them, and then shuffle it and draw a card. Why the fuck would anybody play this card? Well, there's exactly one reason why, and it's because he's playing Food Chain in his Yorion deck. He's going to get 3 Mist Hollow Griffins and exile them, and this means that we now have to also be worried about Food Chain just, like, totally screwing us. Which means even if we pick up Paradigm Shift here, that's not going to be enough, because if he plays Food Chain, then he just has infinite mana and we're going to die. So let's look. So did find 3 Mist Hollow Griffins. So it's a 3/3 flying that you can cast from exile. So effectively, Manipulate Fate has now just added these 3 cards to his hand. Joy. So we make him exile a card. We have a snow-covered island, but that's not really enough to do anything right now, so I guess we just play Lord of Atlantis. And just pray that, like, next turn, pray that he doesn't have Food Chain, and that next turn we can pick up Paradigm Shift and just go for it. tack Oko down to 3 so that we have some hope of trying to kill it. And I also didn't play the Oracle here because now, if he does play Food Chain, I at least have the option of cracking this to try to draw Force of Will. So he has Yorion mana, however, he does cast Food Chain here. Which means, so this means that we are fucked. Because if this thing resolves, he has infinite mana with this Mist Hollow Griffin. What's going to happen is that he can cast the Mist Hollow Griffin. Well, so he can sack the Ice Fang Coatl, get 3 mana, and even sack the food to get like a 4th mana. Cast Mist Hollow from exile the Mist Hollow to this thing to get 5 mana. Use 4 of the 5 to recast this, and now every time that he casts Mist Hollow Griffin, he's going to net 1 mana. So it means that if he has like Walking Ballista or something like that in hand, we lose on the spot. But I mean, there's any number of devastating creature spells he can cast. Sometimes they might have something like Emrakul, or I mean, even just like casting Yorion for value is also an option. Or just like, you know, casting all of the Mist Hollow Griffins plus Yorion is a significant threat. But really, the card that like kills us on the spot is Walking Ballista, so we have to try to draw Force to counter this thing. And let's see, what do we pick up? Lord of Atlantis is not enough here, so Food Chain's going to resolve. And let's watch this shit show go on. So we're exiling the Mist Hollow Griffin. Gonna make like a bajillion mana. And at this point, because he's casting like all of the, because he's making so much mana, he's already like gone past the amount that he would need for Emrakul. So this tells me it's like, yeah, Walking Ballista is definitely happening, but we're gonna let him do it just to make sure we're not getting bamboozled and that he doesn't actually have it in hand and is just, you know, trying to screw with us and make us think that he does. Because theoretically, if he doesn't have the Walking Ballista and he's just trying to screw with us, we still have the option of drawing Paradigm Shift to cast Oracle and win that way. So we have to make sure that he actually does, in fact, kill us exactly this turn. Just casting a bunch of value spells is not enough to, you know, totally win the game. What he needs to do is cast Ballista. But it looks like, yep, here we go. There's Walking Ballista for, you know, Walking Ballista for enough to kill us. So, yeah, we lose, and the mana can only be used to cast a creature spell, so you can't use the mana to put the counters on Ballista, so you have to actually make the full 40 mana this way. So he realizes that, yeah, we just F6 at the turn because we obviously don't have anything to deal with it. And he makes 19 counters and we're dead. So we lose to Food Chain. Food Chain playing Yorion, which was interesting. You know, out of an 80-card deck, they managed to find one of their 4 copies of Food Chain plus the Mist Hollow Griffin. So, yeah, well, it is what it is. So, I mean, it's not like an unwinnable match for sure. We definitely had, you know, chances, but they just really got us there. So, Chalice did not do anything. Oko just kind of sat there and laughed at it. And that's part of the problem. Like, you know, trying to win a fair game of Magic against Oko is not a winning plan. So, True Name is very good against it, but that's about it. I think we're probably going to keep this hand. I mean, we have Aether Vial and we have a way to get, you know, True Name in play. Oracle is, like, fine, because now if we find, like, you know, a land in Paradigm Shift, like, this could be a way to win the game, but I think this is good enough here, because we, like, if we have Force also in case they try to, like, go for a combo win. So, we play Island Vial, and I think we're just going to hope to draw more lands. So, let's see. Opponent, what are we doing? Polluted Delta pass. Neat. Alright, so what do we find here? Draw Lord of Atlantis, which is useless, so opponent Abrupt Decays our Aether Vial. Oh, fuck me. How good at Magic cards are we? Not very, it seems. We didn't draw a land, so Abrupt Decay is definitely like a card that we couldn't really afford to play around, so it looks like, yeah, Oko, Uro. So Uro's fine. We can let Uro be a thing. It's not that bad. We need to draw a land this turn to have a chance, though. We do find a land, so now, like, we can reasonably, you know, play a Lord and pass. Or actually, no, I played Thassa's Oracle here. You know why? I think I realized that like the chances that we're gonna get there with Paradigm Shift were not very high. And we also have Image, so like there's some potential that, you know, if we were to see it, like maybe, but more than anything else, I wanted to get this True Name in play, so I'm putting the Snow-Covered Island on top of my deck to guarantee that I can cast this True Name next turn. And then, if True Name resolves, then there's also the possibility that we just play Phantasmal Image and go sideways with True Name Nemesis and just hope that's enough to beat them. Because again, like, if they just start playing Oko, then, you know, that's going to be hard to deal with. The Goose I'm not worried about. That doesn't do anything. So we're just going to jam True Name Nemesis. They try to force it, we force back. So let's see, this turn he just cast Yorion, which I also force. I don't really want to let him, you know, play Yorion and blink these and get even more food tokens. Playing Yorion also means that there's then some chance they might do something like they might have like Teferi in their deck. I don't know, or some way to bounce the Yorion and just go off like a value plan like that. Whereas I think that just giving them like the gooses with like no food tokens is probably for the best. So I decide, you know what, I'm gonna go sideways here with True Name Nemesis. This is probably the best way to race them, and I can sack the Islet to draw a card. So let's see, what are they gonna do in response to this? They cast a Mist Hollow Griffin, so that was, I believe, the card they pitched to Force the Will. Right? Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to draw a card with Islet. So we draw another image. That's fine. That means we can, you know, race this even more. So we get in for 6, like... Because, yeah, if we can, like, keep attacking with True Names, then we have a very good chance of even racing their food here, so... And that's also the reason that I did this, too, because they're going to kill us in, like, 6 turns, but they also have the ability to, like, you know, blank out some of our True Name attacks by making food tokens, and they also can just, like, you know, every single turn they can effectively negate one of these with a Golden Goose. So I needed to put the third one in play in order to try to be able to win this race. But this is where things get very sad. Because they had Plague Engineer in their deck, and they found Plague Engineer. They only had 2 cards left in hand, but I think they just drew it this turn, and now we are fucked. We lose our True Names, and there's no way that we're gonna come back from this. So we are very far away. We'd have, yeah, like there's no way that we're gonna beat this at this point. So I just gave up here. So what did I sideboard for this? I took out 1 image and the 2 relics. And I brought in the 3 Force of Negations, just as something to counter like Oko and Food Chain. But no, this is sad. So I conceded to this. I have like nothing on board, and I have like no reasonable way of beating this. Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe if we top deck like, yeah, this is not gonna. I don't think this is gonna show me like what the rest of the deck is like, but. They'd have to have like literal nothing, and yeah, they're just attacking for 5 a turn. Like, you know, this Oracle is not going to do very much. And part of the other problem is like even at some point, if we were to draw Oracle and what was I going to say? Oracle and Paradigm Shift, because we just lost 3 cards, we're going to have 7 cards in our graveyard. So we don't even have enough devotion so that, like, you know, top decking like Shift into Oracle or something, or yeah, that wouldn't even do it. So we wouldn't have enough devotion to like get through the rest of our deck before these killed us. So we just concede here, and then unfortunately we lose to the Yorion Food Chain deck. So now we are 3-1. We're going into our last match here. Yeah, so we got by Food Chain in the first game, and then Plague Engineer just out of fucking nowhere in the second game, and that's like one of the few decks in Legacy that actually can afford to play that card right now. They found it in time in 80 cards, so I guess props to them. got punished hard for that. So here, I believe we're on the draw. We're on the draw, and we are up against Lurrus. So Lurrus means that we're probably against a Delver deck. And I think this card, like, this is a reasonably okay hand for this, so I'm pretty sure we're keeping this. Chalice on 1 is pretty good against them. However, they had a turn 1 Delver of Secrets, which is definitely not good for us. And, of course, we only draw, like, Force, you know, afterwards, but this still probably wouldn't have even been that good if we forced the Delver of Secrets, because, they just need, like, a single daze or force back, and now we're just, like, super far behind. So here, we just pass. So Delver fails to blind flip, gets in for 1. Then they play Ponders. Yeah, so here we're just going to play Chalice on 1. We have 2 Paradigm Shift, but no Oracles, unfortunately. They have no response to this, so that means they probably don't have Daze, or maybe they just don't have a bunch of 1-drops that they care about at this point, so who knows. They might not have any counter spells at all. They played Caracas, so Lurrus can definitely start coming out. I guess, so here, we're hoping that because they let Chalice resolve, that means they don't have a way to protect this, so we're going to just play Force, pitch a Paradigm Shift. And unfortunately, they did have a Daze, so now Lurrus is going to come out. If we can counter this card normally, then that's a very good sign for us, but Lurrus is now in play, so even if we ever found a way to kill this Delver of Secrets, which we don't really have, they could just recast it anyway. Well, no, they can't recast the Delver right now because of Chalice, but I mean, there are other things that, you know, this is still a problem, because now, like, Lurrus also just has lifelink, so it's going to be hard to win a race. So I guess we just cast True Name Nemesis and just hope that True Name's going to be enough. They wasteland us off of our Fiery Islets. That kind of hurts. Relic, we can't cast that, so we're just casting Lord of Atlantis, which gets dazed. We can't attack because Lurrus can attack back. And here's the problem, like, we're losing to this Insectile Aberration. We can't, these two are just kind of stalemated against each other. Well, actually, I should say these 3 cards are stalemated against each other. It takes us literally True Name plus Chalice to fucking deal with this thing. So we're just getting beat down by Delver of Secrets, and, like, we don't have a way to deal with it. So we have Phantasmal Image, so if I copy the Lurrus, the image is just going to die to basically anything they play, so the only realistic option we have is to copy True Name Nemesis. And they have Daze for that too. So now we're, like, definitely screwed. Now there's, like, no line that we have that's going to beat Insectile Aberration killing us. And they played a Tarmogoyf on top of that. So, at the very least, like, if we had played Image, like, you know, we could have slowed down against this, but we drew a Snow-Covered Island this turn, the game's over. There's nothing we can do. Delver beat us. They had, like, a turn 1 Delver, and then they had the Daze to counter our Force against Lurrus, so Chalice didn't really look like it did anything meaningful that game. They just had 3 Dazes. And we did not have Cavern of Souls, unfortunately, so that was game 1 against Lurrus, Delver, and they're playing a Sultai version. Excuse me. So, yeah, that was rough. We got True Name out, but it wasn't really enough to beat this Lurrus. So we are on the play here. Oh, actually, hold on. We just skipped over a hand. I wanna actually look at that. So. So sideboarding, we took out a bunch of the combo because the problem is that they have, like, tons of counter magic. Their deck is playing, like, a set of Daze, a set of Force of Wills, and 2 Force of Negations. There is no fucking way that we are resolving Paradigm Shift ever. So that card comes out, and I took out 1 Thassa's Oracle. We bring in 2 Brazen Borrowers. We brought in 2 Dismembers, and we brought in two Brazen Borrowers and 3 Dismembers. Okay, so that's the 5 cards we took out. So let's see here. We're on the play. So what's our opening hand look like? on, MTGO. I want to see this. This hand is terrible. Thassa's Oracle is the only thing that we can actually like reasonably play, and we have no pressure against them, so I don't think we keep this. We have to mulligan. This is a much better hand. We can put an island in the bottom, play turn 1 Aether Vial, and we still have a curve, so I'm going to keep this, put an island in the bottom. Play a Vial, pass. Let's see, what do we got here? Bobble. Yeah, they don't need to play fucking Mishra's Bobble. They have Urza's Bobble, which does effectively the same thing, except it costs a lot less on MTGO. Because people don't need it for Modern right now, so. And they played Nimble Mongoose, so right now this is a 1-1 with Shroud, but eventually it'll become a 3-3. If we can stick True Name, then True Name can wall this thing off forever. So I'm not really worried about it right now. Force of Will is not bad, so we just probably don't play Master right now. I want to hold up Master the Pearl Trident in case I need to use it with Force of Will. The Master is not really where the game is going to matter here, because they do have like a bunch of removal spells for this thing. What's going to matter is if we can protect True Name Nemesis in time. So they're going to Abrupt Decay Aether Vial, which we cannot counter that. So now we have 2 Force of Will, so we're going to play True Name Nemesis because they force it, we're going to force back. The only unfortunate thing is that means that now we are not able to counter Lurrus. However, we have to get this thing out because if we don't play True Name Nemesis, then we have no way of, like, you know, stopping them from killing us. They have an infinite card advantage engine, but as long as this is on the field, they can never attack us with either of these creatures. So what we want to draw are more things to play with True Name Nemesis. So we'll play, you know, Cavern on Merfolk. We're going to play the Cavern of Souls instead of holding it up, just because now if we draw a land next turn, then we can hardcast Force of Will. Let's see, what are they going to do? They play Bobble, crack it, play a land, they don't do anything else. They draw a card, so they continue to just draw more cards. And Phantasmal Image, so we can use it for force. The problem is that if we play Image, then it could easily get countered. So I think I'm willing to wait at least one more turn. Try to draw another blue card for this. So let's see, what are they going to do? They play Bobble, loop it, play Delver of Secrets. Again, they can't attack. Well, so they played it from the graveyard. They can play it this turn during our draw step. See what we got. We found Dismember. That's not great. So I think now I'm just going to risk it, because now at least we represent force in hand, so they might be less inclined to try to counter it. But because they played Delver of Secrets, now I have to play the True Name, because now I have to start racing them. So we play that. We can attack with one, because if they ever attack with either of these creatures, this is going to eat them. So the only other issue here is that Dismember looks like it would be good, except they for sure have, like, if we like try to say Dismember Lurrus, they can just counter it, and now we're down 4 life, and we're probably not going to be able to race the Delver of Secrets. So I'm looking at this Dismember in my hand, and I'm really considering, do I kill this Lurrus, or do I just try to get there with True Names and just... It's a very hard choice. And I think part of the problem is that I think in game 1 they may have also shown us Reanimate. I don't remember. So at some point I think we saw it Reanimate. They might have shown it off of Delver in the first game. So I know that they do have that card in their deck. So even if we Dismember Lurrus, like, the chances that it's going to stay dead are not very high. And I'm also considering, do I need to try to Dismember this Insectile Aberration? Like, that could also be a thing, but I didn't know if Delver was going to flip, and now the problem is they have like 6 cards in hand, and if we try to Dismember this thing and it gets countered, we're at 11 life, they're at 14. We're both attacking for 3, which means we're going to lose the race. Whereas right now, Assuming that we just hold one of these back, we're going to win this race as the board stands right now. So I really am I don't really want to cast the Dismember, because then I'm effectively losing to a single counterspell. And so here, I'm going to play this. I'm going to name Illusion in case I draw another Phantasmal Image. It's sort of a risk. There's 3 more copies of True Name, and there's also 3 more copies of Phantasmal. Or no, there's 2 more copies of. No, we left in all 3. So we have an equal chance of drawing either a True Name or an image. So I want to put one on each one just in case I draw either one, so that way we can play another True Name without getting it countered. But playing the land this turn also means now we can hardcast Force of Will. So we attack for 3 again, try to continue to win this race. Opponent has infinity cards in hand at this point, but we're just hoping that they don't find anything that like deals with this or changes the race at all. Which it seems like at some point they probably will, but we're just hoping for the best here. So Ponder, they're digging for something. Playing another Delver of Secrets, we have to counter that because I believe they did not shuffle with Ponder, which means they knew that they were going to be able to flip it next turn. So they forced it. They had fucking Veil of Summer, of course, because, you know, why would they not? So Delver resolves. Now the race is looking very unfavorable for us. And what do we draw here? We draw another Dismember, which this is extremely dangerous because they could have another Veil of Summer in their hand. They could also just have like another, like a Force of Will or a Force of Negation or something. So we're in the dangerous scenario where trying to dismember one of these is really going to hurt us a lot. So I still have to attack for 3. I think at this point, even they can attack for 6 in the air, but we are also theoretically in this point where if we can somehow resolve like a Lord of Atlantis next turn, we could attack for 8 and kill them. However, if I try to like dismember this and it gets countered, I'm going to go to 8, which means they can attack for 9. So I can't dismember it now, because if I dismember it now and it doesn't work, I'm dead. So I have to wait for them at the very least to declare some attacks first. So they're going to flip this Delver of Secrets. They wasteland off my Cavern of Souls that is on Merfolk. So now Force of Will is definitely a problem if we draw a Lord. I mean, there's lots of problems. That's just one of them. So here, yeah, they can attack with. If they attack with everything, then Dismember's offline. However, they attack with 2 Delvers. So now I'm going to 6, which means next turn I'm going to die for sure, because I'm going to go to 6, and then they still have 6 in the air. So I have exactly 1 turn to try to do something here. However, going to 2 is not any different than going to 6, so it is kind of free to try to dismember one of these things now. And if I successfully dismember one of them, then I only take 3 damage. I go to 5, which means I can weather another turn from getting hit from this. So it was worth doing that. They did have a Force of Will in hand, so they counter Dismember. So it's like, okay, fine, I go to 2. Play Bauble, it doesn't do anything. Preordain. So at this point, we have to draw a Lord. It has to resolve, and they have to not have removal for it in order to win this game. So we do draw a Lord. So let's see what's going to happen. We play it, it resolves. They didn't have like a force for it. So now our only chance of winning is attack. So let's attack for 8, and they have Abrupt Decay, so we lose. The game is ended. Yeah. So I mean that was our out. We had to like play this, and somehow out of like the 7 cards they had in their hand, they needed to not have any removal spells at all. But unfortunately they had it. Yeah, I don't know. This game is kind of rough. I'm thinking that we don't have enough ways to like stop this, and because of this is why I was looking at putting Merfolk Trickster back in the deck, because I think if we had Merfolk Trickster, and we definitely could have done something about this. So yeah, let's go back and look at our deck. So yeah, we ended the league at 3-2. The Lurrus deck was kind of rough, but I don't know. What are you gonna do? That happens. Let me bring this back over here. So this is what we were at, and now looking at this, the relic didn't really matter very much for Paradigm Shift. I don't think we ever once needed to use it in like any of the matches we played with the combo here. So we usually only have like 1 or 2 cards in our graveyard when you go for it anyway. So what I ended up doing is I decided afterwards I want to put that in the sideboard. We never even saw this card once, right? So, but also like, I don't know, I wasn't really convinced. I think that we need Merfolk Trickster to try to like deal with the Delvers. Adding 4 of these to the deck. Because this does 2 things for us. One, we can always like Merfolk Trickster Lurrus in the upkeep if we want them to not be able to cast something. Because it only casts permanents, and that's usually at sorcery speed. So Trickster can turn off Lurrus for a turn. It can also come in and hit Delver of Secrets, bring it down into the ground. So like, imagine there if we had Merfolk Trickster, we casted off Cavern of Souls, and they'll hit their Delver of Secrets. Now we just block with True Name Nemesis, and yeah, their entire clock just disapparates into nothing. On the other hand, Brazen Borrower is not very good at dealing with Delver of Secrets because, like I said, they have infinity counterspells for this thing. And what else? Yeah, we don't really need it for Ensnaring Bridge. Like, that's not that big a deal. So I decided that I don't really need that card in the sideboard. If we're up against a bridge deck, we can just use the Oracle combo to go for it. And yeah, we'll just keep Relic in the sideboard. Yeah, I think that Relic is still fine. We do want some graveyard hate. Like, we can still board this in against Lurrus decks. But I really just don't believe that we don't need it in the main deck. We're just going to forego 1-drops and just play it entirely on Mono 2. So, yeah, we ended up 3-2. Our 2 losses were kind of rough, but you know what? Food Chain, they got us, but also like Plague Engineer was like something we were absolutely not expecting. It's not like like I had said yesterday before, I found out that my audio died. It's not like Plague Engineer is totally 100% gone. It's just like it's not being played in like the Delver decks right now. So, or even like the Miracle decks, are not splashing for it at this point. They're playing stuff like, they're playing stuff like Entreat the Angels even instead of Monastery Mentor. So it's also possible we could trim like one of these Dismembers, but that I'm a little bit more unsure about. I mean, I also had thought about that, like take out 1 Dismember, play a second or a 3rd Null Rod in the sideboard. That's a reasonable plan because I think the Null Rod is probably going to be more relevant than this at the moment, especially with Zerda. That Lurrus is definitely a threat, but like Zerda is also a threat in the mono, like the artifact combo deck with Karn the Great Creator in it. Like, for sure, that's something we need to be concerned about. So yeah, and specifically because Monastery Mentor is not being played as much because of the Miracle decks are also playing Lurrus now. So yeah, they have Entreat the Angels as their main win condition. So maybe something like Echoing Truth might even be better than a Dismember. I mean, that's also a random out to a bridge, so like that's also reasonably playable. We didn't really get to see the Caracas do much, but I guess we could cut the Caracas for 1 Echoing Truth as well, and then like swap one of these for the Null Rod. Echoing Truth I think is fine in the sideboard. I could see playing 1 there. So we still saw like the combo in our deck definitely did something, and I think there is still something to playing just a bunch of True Name Nemesis. Cause even though we got by Plague Engineer 1 time, that's not going to be a very common occurrence, I think. So I think we should just ignore it and just press on anyway. This seems to be like a good shell for Merfolk, and we have so many like double blue things right now that I really don't want Mutavault in here at all. One thing I have considered is playing like a couple Fairy Conclaves. However, that's also kind of mana intensive, and I really don't want to like expose my mana base to Wasteland any more than I have to, especially because all of our stuff is like 2 mana. We really, really want to get like 2 basic islands in play at any given point, so that way Wasteland can't keep us away from being able to play cards. Because if we play like say Cavern of Souls in turn 1 and then like Island in turn 2, that's very bad. We don't want to have to do that. Then they can just Wasteland our Cavern, and now we're effectively not doing anything for like until turn 3 at the earliest, assuming we even draw another land. So I think keeping the basic land count very high when you don't have, you know, stuff like Curse Catcher in your deck, it makes sense. We don't have anything to do with 1 mana, so yeah, I think this is what I would play next time, and I'm sure there will be a next time with this list. I think the Trickster would make a huge difference for sure. If we see this card versus a lot of the Lurrus decks, I think it's going to help us win races a lot. Especially if they play Tarmogoyf, this card's just going to fucking gobble up Tarmogoyf, you know. Turn it into a 0/1, eat it. It'll be fine. But yeah, so that was the Legacy League. I think we did okay with the replay. It was a little bit awkward at a few points, but you know, that's all I got for now. Hopefully next time we won't have issues with this, and we can just kind of get, you know, normal league gameplay instead of having to go and play it back. So we had such a strong start, but it just kind of like fell apart by just a few. Yeah, just like a few bad games. Like that's all it really takes sometimes. Well, but it's okay. 3-1's not like or 3-2's not an awful result. We can live with that, because I think, like I said, this has potential to keep, you know, doing some serious damage as long as Lurrus is legal. And as Wizards has not really announced what they're going to do with that yet, so who knows how much longer that's going to be for. And alright, so until next time, if you want to like the video or leave a comment, I appreciate your feedback very much. I'm sorry this came out late, you know, technical difficulties, just they are what they are, so. But yeah, your feedback means a lot to me. I care very, very much about it. Please let me know what you thought. If there's anything in particular you want to see, I can try to make it happen. Or you know, if you just want to, if you have gameplay feedback, or you even just want to post like random memes or stuff, I am totally fine with that. Go crazy. Yeah, so that's all I got. Take it easy, everybody. I will see you probably Monday is usually when I've been doing this, so alright. Later, everybody.